KB here on What's Burning, along with Tom Abbott from Iron Eagle Tactical, as we get into our responsible gun ownership points. And we're actually going to have a nice series that we go over and break down owning a firearm, all the things that you need to keep in mind. And of course, before we get started with any of that, Tom, we need to get folks understanding what safety is all about when it comes to firearms.
First and foremost, KB,
Right.
again, thank you guys for coming in here and helping us get this message out to the community. First and foremost, safety. You know, there's a lot of controversy about firearms and a lot of trials and stuff that are going on. So we want to educate people on the proper way to train with, store, clean, and handle firearms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are primary responsibilities for a gun owner. You know, if you're going to go buy a gun, you need to know how to clean it. You need to know how to disassemble it. You need to know how to operate it, how to load it safely, how to store it safely, and keep it out of the hands of people that are not supposed to have it. And that includes children. Everybody in the household needs to be aware of how to operate, how to store, and safely operate a firearm.
Right on. Well, why don't we talk? We've got some information here. I know that you have the gun safety rules. We're going to go over a couple of those. And then, folks, as you watch the series, we'll have all of those available to you so you can check them out along the way. But pamphlets like this, I guess you can pick it up at any facility that sells firearms.
Most responsible gun ownership and gun stores will have this literature available. I keep it. I do it at gun shows. I pass them out in any of my mail order stuff that I send out, along with the Pocket Constitution that has the First and Second Amendments in it. That are our two most important amendments, the First and the Second Amendment, because 1 + 2 = 3. You can ask me about that later.
I will.
But the primary responsibility of a gun ownership is safe handling and the operation of a firearm and storage. That all runs in together. But you treat every firearm as if it's loaded. You don't know about it. Somebody hands you a gun. Always assume that it is loaded. And therefore, you never point it at anything that you don't want to shoot. You know, you always want to point it in a safe direction. We'll always keep that gun pointed away from each other, because I love you like a brother and I don't want to shoot you for sure, because you might get mad.
I appreciate you thinking of me there.
So we'll always point it at the wall, at
Right.
the floor, at the ceiling. You know, I know what's above me. I know what's below me. I know what's behind these walls, things like that. So we'll always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. And then the third thing is never put your finger in the trigger well until you are ready to shoot. It's called trigger discipline or trigger finger control. You always want to keep your finger when you have to grip the firearm properly. You want to keep that finger alongside what we'll call the frame of the gun, whether it's a rifle or a pistol or whatever. Your finger is always outside that trigger well until you are ready. You know what your target is. You've got your target in your sights. You know what is beyond that. That's another primary rule. It's farther down. There's 11 commandments that we like to follow. The Bible gives you 10. Gun ownership would give you 11, so you give it a bonus one. And we'll list those. But the three primary ones are: if you assume that the gun is loaded, if you always keep it pointed in a safe direction, and you never put your trigger finger in that trigger well, or any finger inside that trigger well, then that prevents the gun from going off prematurely.
Right.
A gun will not just sit there and go off. You know, it has to be prompted to do that. And that's typically this, and carelessness between that.
There is, as there is in everything, a personal responsibility that comes with owning a firearm. In order to be a good steward, if you will, of firearms, it's probably a good idea to use your brain, and personal responsibility comes into play. What you do with that firearm, say when it's in your home, if you're transporting it, if you're taking it to the range, whatever the case, you have to stay on top of things at all times, because it seems like when you let your guard down, that's obviously when people get hurt, or worse.
Absolutely. So let's take this from beginning to end.
Right.
All right. I'm a new firearm owner, and I go to a gun store. I try hand fitting a few guns. I purchase a gun. What do I do with it then? Typically, you buy it in a box. You bring it home. It has a couple of magazines in it. It has a desiccant bag in there to keep it from rusting while it's in storage, things like that. So then what do I do with it? All right, so I bring it home in this box. I can't carry it around on me in the box. So then I have to learn, how to store it. The box just in itself is not lockable. typically. So I have to figure out if I have family members if it's just me by myself, that's one thing. But still, you have people that want to break into your house, break into your car, steal your gun, and it's a lot easier if it's just laying around in a box. So I'm a big fan of lockable storage, either with keys or, more importantly, with a keypad that you're the only one that knows the combination to, so somebody can't get the key from you. We'll talk about how to properly store the firearm, whether you can store it loaded or unloaded. There's, some people have different thought processes on it. If you have a large gun collection and it is a collection, and you go out and shoot one occasionally, I would typically recommend that you leave those unloaded. But your personal protection, either for your home, your car, or on your person, they have to be loaded. If not, they're not effective. So we'll talk about the proper way to store those loaded. All right, so I have a touchpad on this safe, and this is primarily where I keep all of my pistols and all of my pistol ammunition.
Right on.
All right, I usually keep them by caliber because I am a gun collector, gun enthusiast, gun dealer. I like to keep track of the different calibers, how much ammunition I have of each one. This isn't my sellable stuff. I do sell ammunition, but that's all kept in a separate facility. This is the skunk works. This is where the mind gets to wander down here and we get to build new stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in, just like if you were to go to a local gun shop or come to me and say, I'd like to purchase a gun. So this is typically one way that they would come. Some come in a cardboard box. But I'll take it over here to the bench. And just while we're on the subject of safety, before you got here, I went through and made 100% sure that everything was unloaded, but we're still going to do the same thing.
Right.
I'm assuming that it is loaded. I know it is not, but I'm still, because you're here and I love you like a brother, we're going to clear this and I kick the magazine out. As you see, it's spring loaded, so you want to be able to catch that.
Right.
The first thing you want to do is, because the magazine is the source of ammo for a semi-automatic gun. And we'll go the difference between semi-automatic and a revolver here shortly. But I wanted to make sure this is out, so there's no magazine in here, so there's no ammo source. It's like taking the garden hose away from your pressure washer. All right? If it doesn't have any water, it can't make any pressure. So then I'm going to take the slide and I'm going to lock it back, and I'm visually going to look inside the chamber to make sure that there's no ammunition in there. If I want to, I can lock that slide back manually. I can even stick my finger down in there. And I can see both visually and with the feel of my finger that there's nothing in the well. Would you concur?
Yes, sir. And stick the finger in there, making sure to keep it pointed away from everybody.
Correct. So now we know this gun is unloaded. We're still going to, if you'll notice, my finger's outside the trigger well. Not interested in shooting anybody or anything today, so always going to keep that out of there. We may do some close-up videos to show trigger control later, but we want to make sure that it's unloaded. We did that. So then on this particular gun, it has a safety release on it, decocker, and we'll go through that whenever we go through the types of guns. But this is how this would come. All right, so what do I do with it then? All right, I bring it home. I've got ammunition for it. I've got it in this case. I don't want to leave that on my coffee table. I don't want to leave that on my bedside. So what do I need? I need a safe.
Right.
You put all your valuables in a safe. Guns are valuable, and they're also dangerous if not handled properly. So what I would recommend, and I have several of them here, this is a bedside safe that is a touchpad. I have a combination. This is one that I actually use in my motorhome. Whenever I travel to gun shows and just all around the country, I have guns in the motorhome for my protection and my family's protection. This one, or one similar to this, I've bolted in there so it can store money, it can store valuables, keys, wallet, anything. But it does have guns and it does have ammunition in it. Start out with something like this. It does have a touchpad on it. I'm going to hide the code in case anybody wants to get in my motorhome. All right, so then you twist lock it to unlock that, and you can store a pistol in there, you can put money in there, you can put spare ammunition, spare magazines, this is your go-to in a situation like that. But it is lockable. It's bolted down in my motorhome. You can bolt it down in your house so that you can't just pick this up and carry it away. You know, this is one that I just happen to have around. And I want to use it for demonstrations. But keep everything locked up.
Yes.
You know, keep it away from children. Not that I'm against kids being able to shoot, but they need to be taught properly. This is a lockable box that will slide under your seat. It has a cable that comes with it that secures it around the seat post. And it has keys, or it has a combination lock on it. The thing I like about this one, it's lightweight, it's composite, and you can fly with these. You can fly with guns, not in your carry-on luggage, but in your checked luggage. And there's a proper way to do that. You know, check with the airline, check with the TSA, but you can fly with a pistol in this. Your ammo can stay in here as well. They just happen to be separate. The gun can't be loaded. The magazine can be out of it, and then your ammunition has to be in its original style box, not just a bunch of loose ammo laying in there.
Right.
But check with the TSA and check with the airline. You put it in your checked luggage, you declare that it has a firearm in there. They'll tag it, they'll x-ray it, they'll make sure. You know, they may inspect it.
We are working our way through the safety aspect of owning firearms here. Again, our guest is Tom Abbott with Iron Eagle Tactical. I would say, Tom, if people watch the video series and along the way they've got any questions, how can they reach out to you?
You can email me is one of the best ways to get a hold of me, and that's at info@ironeagletactical.com. Sales@ironeagletactical.com will also reach me. My phone number, 573-286-5359. Give me a call, ask questions. I love to educate. I'm an NRA pistol instructor. I'm a range safety officer. And I got into this business not as a business. I got into it as an enthusiast. I wanted to know more about how to safely handle a firearm, shoot a firearm proficiently. And it's turned into a living for me, you know, over the last 20 years.
I'm sure that's how it is with a lot of people.
Yeah, I just try to get into everything that I get involved with, you know, and learn it from the ground up. The very first pistol I've ever purchased is in here. Still have it. It's still one of the best shooting guns I've ever bought. So that's what wanted to make me get better at these things. So I want to pass on all the knowledge that I've learned to people that are coming up, or just anybody that just did not grow up around firearms. And even if you did, doesn't mean you were trained properly.
That's the thing. I mean, training is a big part of this. Education is a big part of this. So something in a lot of people, I would imagine, especially in this day and age, because we see the numbers of gun sales going through the roof. Guns, ammunition. A lot of the ammunition these days is hard to come by. But something happens that triggers someone to say, well, you know what? I had an incident. Somebody tried to rob me. Somebody mugged me. Somebody broke into my house. I need a firearm for personal protection, self-defense. And so you go out and you buy a firearm and you throw it in a drawer, or you keep it under your pillow or under your bed, someplace that you think is close. Somebody comes along and finds it, and the next thing you know, you have a very unfortunate situation. Whether it is a child, it could be an adult as well that just doesn't know how to handle a firearm, and you don't store it properly, and then that's when bad things happen. So we've had an opportunity to talk about safety and storage with Tom Abbott from Iron Eagle Tactical. Tom, what are we going to move on to in our next episode?
Well, we're going to talk about the different types of guns. We'll start off with the pistols. We'll go from the revolver and the semi-automatic. There's single shots available too, but we'll cover the basics of the two most common ones, and those are revolvers and semi-automatics.
Very good, folks. Stick around with us on What's Burnin' here on Lake TV, and our good friend Tom Abbott from Iron Eagle Tactical. We're going to give you some responsible gun ownership tips and get you into the mindset of course, safety, training, and education.